the Fett. I'm here doing another baseball chat with you guys. Um, I am gonna dive right into it. Chris Davis is horrible. He is probably the worst person in league history to receive over $100 million contract. I just don't see how the way he's playing is acceptable. And personally, like, that's why I prefer to have performance-based contracts with incentives based upon, the stats you accumulate in baseball. And right now is a perfect time to bring this up. I mean, he's batting 150, has less than 20 RBIs. He's just horrible at the plate. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's striking out. It's not even close. I mean, we're talking dude's getting 3 pitches thrown at him at the plate. He's terrible. The Orioles as a whole, I haven't done a show. I'm going to get on it. I needed to make this show just to express how disgruntled I've become with the team and the franchise and the management. We had the Major League Baseball draft a couple days ago, last week, and the Orioles decided to load up on arms, young pitchers, which that's what we need in our system. That's been our weakness for the last 3 decades almost since we've seen it's just not pretty. First round pick, we draft a high schooler out of Texas, plans on playing college ball, or who knows, he might end up showing at rookie ball that I'm going to stay. We also drafted a shortstop with a compensation pick, but he's out of Oregon State. He has bad issues. He's a great defender, but, we're loaded at shortstop. That's not what I wanted to see. So overall, the Orioles draft for me, I don't pay much attention to the prospect levels before the draft. I'm not a big, oh my goodness, we drafted this dude. Like I said, I'm a little weary of Duquette and the management right now. So the fact that the player scouting director who was hired by Dan Duquette made some of these selections, and that's what they're based off of, I am worried. The team, let's get into that a little bit as they continue to struggle to pull 20 wins in this year. I mean, we might be looking at maybe the worst team in Major League history. And it's not the pitching fault. These guys just don't bat. On the days the pitchers show up and allow 3 or less runs, they can't get any run support. On the days that the dude gives up, 12 runs, they score 7. So at my wit's end right now. We're in another series in Boston. We've already lost the first 2 games. I know we took 2 games from the Mets after losing to the Yankees for 2 games. We got swept in the Beltway series. I mean, where else do you go with this from now? Like, how do you decide to be an optimistic Oriole at this point? You can't. If you're optimistic about the Orioles right now, then you are delusional, and I question your integrity as a fan, because our franchise is being run into the ground. The Angelos family doesn't want to spend money, won't give money to keep Manny Machado. They overpaid for freaking Chris Davis. Alex Cobb can't pitch through 3 freaking innings without giving up 9 runs. I mean, it's an atrocity what's going on down there. And, the attendance is lacking. I'm sure merchandising is down. I'm an angry Oriole right now, all right? We are, this team was built, not too long ago, we were the AL East champs. And it just goes to show you how quickly things change in our division, in baseball, in the whole sport as a whole, all right? Because, we're still clinging on to Manny. And, I mean, every day we hold him closer, you know what I mean, and closer. He continues to produce. He took a couple days off here recently, which I don't have a quarrel with. He's healthy. He's the only guy playing baseball on the team right now. The pitching has been substandard. We got, Dylan Bundy and Gosman are great young pitchers. Okay, they're not the best, but they're reliable. They're gonna get you 5 to 7 innings, what we want. Everybody else is terrible. I mean, Cashner just went to the DL. Cobb can't. That's another $40 million flushed. I don't even know where else to go. I'm just very upset. I'm watching the Yankees and the Red Sox pull the rest of the league away, and yeah, it sucks mostly because they're in our league division. But the biggest problem I have is teams like the Blue Jays are sweeping us. The Devil Rays are taking 3 out of 4. I mean, I just don't know. It could get a lot worse. We could string together a 30-game losing streak. That's completely possible with this roster and this team right now. Um, Even though we got somebody like Zach Britton off the DL. So what I want to focus on, basically talking about this, is at this point in the year, right now, on June 13th, I am ready to sell the team. When I say sell the team, I mean anybody and everybody with talent has got to go. Zach Britton got to go. Maybe it's time we unload Scoop. Maybe it's time we unload Trumbo. You know what I mean? And you know, it just irritates my soul that in a matter of 3 years, this team's fizzled out. 3 to 4 years since we were basically the crap. We were the team. We were going to the playoffs, the AL East title game, and now here we are, and I sit in a difficult position having to force myself. There are no other pro sports going on right now. I mean, yeah, you got mini camp gearing up for the NFL. You got the free agency and the draft about to hit for the NBA. And you got hockey, which I believe has started already, free agency. But I solely commit myself to Orioles baseball. And I'm checking stats all the time. I'm tuning into games. I'm trying to stomach through them, and it gets harder and harder. Okay, when I tell you I'm a diehard and I got the logo tatted on my calf, like that's my favorite team. Period. In all my sports, I like the Ravens. I like the Cavaliers. I like the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like Penn State for college football, and I like Maryland in college basketball. But I am finding it the most difficult to root for my baseball team. I'm not blaming this on Buck Showalter, and I got to put the foot of the blame at the management team because you had to have known this wasn't going to work. You had to have known that there were going to be issues. You had to have known some of these guys you gave a lot of money to weren't going to produce, okay? Number one is Chris Davis. I don't freaking know how this dude, he cried about Jim Palmer calling him out. You know what I mean? I haven't seen any progress since Jim Palmer called him out. And you know what? He deserved it because Jim Palmer's an Oriole legend, okay? Jim Palmer's one of the greatest pitchers in Orioles team history of all time. And to hear that man talk about you, Chris Davis, and to know that, you're not doing a damn thing to change it. And it's just irritating because, I have two Chris Davis's jerseys on the Chris Davis train, okay? Like, we traded for him, got him out of the Rangers, and then he signed with us. He played great. He took his Adderall. I was upset for a day, but I just don't know how this dude could be so lousy at the plate. He's a decent fielder, too. Like, I'm not questioning his defensive ability at first base, but at the plate, he's just been atrocious. I don't know how you go from hitting 30 to 40 to 50 home runs to barely struggling to have 5. I think he has 5 right now. 5 home runs. And you play in the smallest ballpark in the league, I think, for him as a lefty. I'm really irritated. I'm really upset, guys. A lot of people laugh at me. Oh, you take sports too serious. Well, with the crazy world we live in, this is supposed to be my outsource. And, I've already dealt with the Orioles being terrible for close to 2 decades consecutively. It's been a long time. It's been since the 90s, early 90s, since they were good. Mid-90s, since they were good. Cal Ripken is our saving grace. And it's sad that man had 1 ring. 1 ring in 83, my second area player I want to get on is Alex Cobb. We gave you 4 years, $40 million. We gave you about $10 million a year to pitch for us. In about 80% of this dude starts, he gets shelled in the first 3 innings. And when I say shelled, I mean we're not talking 4 runs. We're talking 6, 7, 8. This guy is atrocious. He came, he's a late signing, so he spent extra time in spring training, and he was in the minors. And honestly, I don't see what all the hype was about. I mean, no wonder Tampa Bay let him walk. He is terrible. And the days he's pitching, he's killing us. I mean, he is, I think he's doing his best Chris Tillman impersonation, who is another kind of, we signed Chris Tillman, like that's what we got to deal with. And unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with as Orioles fans. I can't really just get on those two guys. The team as a whole, besides Manny, nobody's playing. Manny might be the only one of us to go to the All-Star game. Nobody else deserves it. I like Bundy. I like Gaz. But at the end of the day, Manny's the only guy who's looking good right now. Adam Jones, I should say, he's not bad. He's putting Adam Jones up, 280-ish, and he's always a beast in the outfield. But I'm just very disappointed with the team as a whole at this point. We're not even halfway, and it's looking like we're going to have 110 plus losses, And the Detroit Tigers, were the worst. I think they had the fewest wins overall. It's like 42-43. I'll check when I do my next segment of this podcast, because this is the first segment if you're listening to this. You're going to get all the stats, the good, the bad, the ugly for those Orioles games, because they need to be mentioned. They need to be brought up. Those guys need to be slandered, the team as a whole. But like I keep saying, it's not all their fault. It's not the whole team's fault. The blame is somewhere between the players and management. And I lay it more at management, because I just don't, some of the signings, some of the contracts, and the way the cap's structured here with not having a salary cap basically in baseball, I still don't understand Dan Duquette. I don't understand his signings. I don't understand his philosophy with prospects. And I feel like Buck is restricted. We're holding Buck back. So, anyways, this is segment 1. I'm going to continue with the good, the bad, the ugly. I just needed to get a little rant out. I was feeling some type of way. But without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into segment 2. So, after segment 1, I basically complained about all the issues Orioles are having, what I think GM, management, and the ownership group, as well as the team and Buck is going wrong. Just overall, it's not going pretty. So I'm a little behind on recaps. I'm going to go ahead and do the recaps from the last 14 games, where the Orioles went a mighty 2-12. Yes, that's right. 2-12. We're starting on May 28th. My middle brother's birthday. Wasn't a good day for the Orioles as they take the loss. They lose 6-0 to the Nationals. The Beltway series for me is supposed to be one of our rivalry series against the Nationals. Ever since they came back, basically reborn Montreal Canadiens, and it wasn't pretty as the bats were solid, 7 for 31, but it's still the bad. Guys are still not getting run support. Pitching, it didn't help with the ugly Cobb. He went 7 innings, so I will give him props there, but 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 Ks, 1 home run. Just not one of his better games, but still ugly. Pitching staff is ugly. The pitching, ugly. Bleer also came in. He gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, and .2 innings pitched. So when you combine Cobb and Bleer's numbers, you lose 6-0 because the bats went 7 for 31. some good. Joey Ricard got some playing time, as well as Adam Jones, still Mr. Oriole pretty much on the team, being the seasoned vet. Um, Goes 2 for 4. I have something else written down, which I'm going to start keeping track of, and that is Chris Davis's stats. Now that we've reached an all-time low with him, numbers, and the way he's performing, I'm just going to update you guys every game on what $23 million buys you. As he did not play, it was manager's decision. May 29th, the Orioles lose a close one, 3-2, again in the Beltway Series against the Nats. Just no run support. That's what I have as the ugly here. I mean, these guys, on the days the pitching does actually do well, which is probably, I'd say, every third or fourth day, the bats don't show up. So, unfortunately, Bundy didn't pitch a bad game. He took the loss. He's now 3-7 after this game. Gives up 11 hits, 3 earned runs. He has 6 Ks, gives up 2 home runs. The bats didn't really bail him out that much as they go 9 for 33 with 9 strikeouts. Manny is the good, going 2 for 4. The home run, and Jones going 2 for 4 as well. So, I mean, they had decent run support here, I guess you would say, bat-wise. I shouldn't even say run support because only scored 2 runs, really. When you expect to get those days where the Orioles score over 5 runs and the pitcher holds the other team to 3, you just kind of figured they'd get wins, but not this season. This is unlike any season we've seen before, and that's what we're dealing with as Oriole fans right now. It is an ugly mess. They are losing the close games, and the bats almost don't show up every day, and the pitching only shows up here and there. Chris Davis in this game, he plays. He goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. His batting average is at 153 after this game. 153 for $23 million with no hits, 2 Ks. Okay, so we have the rubber match against the Nats as the last game. We lose this one 2-0. Another close game. We're swept by the Nats. I don't have anything good about this because we lost to the crosstown rivals. And they swept us, and it was ugly. And this game can't really complain because Max Scherzer pitched. The Orioles' bats are the ugly here as they go 4 for 30 with 12 strikeouts. Chris Davis goes 0-3, and he has a strikeout. His batting average actually increases to 156. So a slight increase even though he doesn't get a hit. He only has 1 strikeout. The bad, Castro pretty much gave up the win. He takes the L here. He goes 1 inning pitched, gives up 2 hits, the earned run, the eventual catching the L there with giving up that run. Hess goes 6 strong, only allows 4 hits, 1 earned run. I like this David Hess kid. I hope they continue to use him in the rotation going forward, which I'll go over. He pitches another game where I might bring that back, but I would rather David Hess continue pitching the rest of the year and get that experience and see where we are pitching-wise for next year. May 31st, the baseball gods permitted it to rain. Therefore, I didn't have to deal with a Yankees loss. We were scheduled to play them. That game's going to get made up. June 1st, the Yankees, they beat us 4-1. It's never good when you lose to the Yankees, especially when your brother-in-law is a big Yankees fan. But the Orioles were terrible. The good, Manny goes 2 for 3 with a home run. The bad, Cashner went 6 innings pitched. He gave up 9 hits, 3 earned runs, strikes out 4. But once again, the ugly is the bats. 12 strikeouts, 5 for 31 at the plate. And mighty Chris Davis goes 0 for 4 with 1 K. His batting average drops to 153. $23 million. June 2nd, the Yankees take another victory from us. They win 8-5. The Orioles finally score over 2 runs, and they take this L. The good is the bats went 11 for 37. They hit double digits on the hits. They hit 3 home runs with Manny. Jones, and even Joey Ricard, who's finally getting some playing time out in the outfield after spending most of the year down at AAA. I don't know what even to say. The bad is Gosman, 5.9 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 9 strikeouts, gives up 2 home runs. Givens comes in and he gets imploded too. He goes an inning, gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, but only 2 strikeouts. Starting pitching, just not good. This could have been one of those days where if we had good starting pitching, the Orioles had the run support to win the game, but they don't. The ugly, Chris Davis, goes 1 for 4. He increases his batting average, though, with that 1 for 4. He has 2 strikeouts. He's now batting 154. $23 million, and through 5 games of this cast, he has increased his batting percentage by 0.4, accumulating quite a bit in the strikeout category. June 3rd was postponed due to a rain delay. The fantasy baseball gods, as well as regular baseball gods, happy enough to let me escape 2 games. Yankee sweep, at least a 2-game stand. Not pretty. So my only source of optimism for this show comes right here. All right, June 5th against the New York Mets, who I've kind of like unofficially adopted as my NL team. All right, I like Mr. Met. I think he's a cool little mascot, and grew up. Mike Piazza was a beast. I watched that Subway Series when I lost to the Yanks. Obviously, all the legends of Darryl Strawberry being a savage. I just like the Mets. I think more of it is I like the color scheme and the fact that they're in New York to compete against the Yankees is attractive to me. So, like I said, this is probably my first time announcing that my NL team is the New York Mets. But the Orioles beat them 2-1. They end a 5-game losing streak. The ugly, though, Chris Davis, 0 for 2 with a strikeout. His batting average drops to 153. $23 million to do this crap. I hope you guys are starting to get the gist of what I'm going through and what I'm dealing with. The bad, obviously the Bats going 6 for 29. Still pulled out the win with those 6 hits, which is amazing. The good is the W for the Birds. Cobb gets the W. He's 2-7 now. He goes 6 innings strong, gives up 2 hits, and has 7 Ks. Can't ask for much more from him after the year he's had. The next game, June 6th, they beat the Mets 1-0. Amazing that they have a winning streak during all this, all right, because they are terrible. The Orioles are the worst team in baseball. I've been saying it. 100-game loss season is coming our way. The good is, they got on a winning streak, 2-game winning streak. They get another W in a close game, something they haven't been able to do all year. Manny wins the game in the 8th. Bundy gets the W. He improves to 4-7. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 3 hits, had 5 strikeouts. That's always good. Confidence booster Dylan Bundy, as he is our best young ace. The ugly, like I said, it's going back to Chris Davis. He goes 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, but that hit bumps that average up to 155. Woo! Chris Davis is earning his salary, people. In a week, he's bumped his batting average up by 5 points. Just an atrocity. I really don't know what else to say. They're terrible. And the fact that they were able to win these 2 games against the Mets is, number one, showing you how maybe bad the Mets are with all the injuries they've had. They have a great rotation, but I think the Orioles miss out on having to play the tough pitchers, DeGrom, Syndergaard. So they get a day off, and then they head to play the Blue Jays, where the first game they lose 5-7. Yes, you're hearing that. 5-4, I apologize. They lose in 10 innings, another close game loss for them that goes extra innings. Brock blows a save. He only pitches .1. He gives up 3 hits, 3 earned runs. And then Castro takes the L in extra innings as he goes 1.1 innings pitched. He gives up 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 Ks. Chris Davis, I'm getting sick of reading this. Goes 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. His batting average declines to 152. The bad, obviously the Bats only 7 for 36. And the good, the only thing, I have 2 things here. 3 home runs. They hit 3 home runs. Pretty decent day. Hesco, 6 innings pitched, gives up 5 hits, 1 earned runs, 4 Ks, only 1 home run he gave up. Those are solid numbers again from a kid we brought up from the minors. And we can't get him. Brock can't close out the save, and then we lose on Castro. Go Castro has been great this year. I can't really knock on him too hard, but Brock, who at this time in Mona is officially the setup man, I believe now, since Zach Britton returns. That's another good that Britton is back overall, but is he even going to get the pitch in any save opportunities? Anyways, the Orioles lose the next day on June 8th. They lose 5-1 to the Blue Jays. Chris Davis is the good. Did not play, manager's decision. Chad Gentry goes 3 for 3. I know he's starting to lose some of his playing time with some of the young bucks called up, like Ricard. The ugly bats, just no run support at all. 5 for 31 is what they went, which is terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible. Scott and Wright each pitch an inning. Each give up 2 earned runs and 2 hits. Cashner takes the loss, though, as he goes 6 innings pitched, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 Ks. He gives up 2 home runs. The Orioles lose, like I said, 5-1. Next day, the Orioles go 10 innings strong again. They lose to the Blue Jays. Again, 4-3 in 10 innings. It's getting old at this point, watching these guys lose. I don't understand exactly. The team's tenacity is just not there. The will to win those close-knit games, not there. I'm not blaming Buck. I'm not blaming the players. It's just a combination. Everything still, it's just not clicking. It's bad pitching with bad hitting. So the Orioles lose 4-3, like I said. Chris Davis does not play. That's good news. And then Cisco goes 2 for 4 with a double on an RBI. Cisco's heating up. Not putting the greatest numbers up, but for a rookie catcher and him being our future behind the plate, he's looking good. The bats go 8 for 38. They strike out 9 times. And then you have Gosman. 6 innings pitched, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Gosman, going 6 innings is pretty typical. 9 hits is a little much, but the real ugly is Givens once again taking an L. He's 0-2 after this, pitches .2 innings, and gives up the hit and the earned run, which causes them to lose. And then we have the season finale, all right, on June 10th. Curtis Granderson is old. A lot of people consider him washed up. Don't worry, we gave him a 6 RBI day. The Jays sweep us. They beat us 13-3 on the last game. They just get swept. They're so bad. They go 7 for 33 at the plate. Chris Davis goes 1 for 4 with 2 Ks. His batting average increases to 153. $23 million, and he's batting freaking 153 still. Cobb takes the loss. He goes to 2-8. He only lasted 3.2 innings pitched. Gave up 11 hits, 9 earned runs, 5 Ks, and 2 home runs. The only thing good about this game is the Orioles, Scoop and Trey, hit home runs. So, we get swept in a 4-game stand to the lowly Blue Jays. It's ugly. It's just not fun at this point right now, having to watch these guys play. So go to June 11th where they have a 3-game stand starting with the Red Sox. They lose 2-0 in the final 12 innings. The bad, Givens picks up another loss. He's now 0-3. He went inning, .1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 K, gives up 2 earned runs. Just terrible. The bats, ugly as always, 5 for 41, 14 Ks. 14 Ks, right? 3 of them belong to Chris Davis as he goes 0 for 5, and he's back to 150 as his batting average. Just an absolute nightmare for a guy who soaks up $23 million on your team's salary. I really don't. I just don't get it. It's not fun for me as a fan. I'm sure it's not fun for the season ticket holders, as well as everybody else that's involved with the organization. because we're just flat terrible at this point. We can't win a close game. We can't win in extra innings. Despite Bundy going 8 strong innings, only gave up 3 hits and 7 Ks against the White Sox. Didn't take the loss, which I was happy about. Jones goes 2 for 5. Like I said, Captain Jones is still doing his thing. On the 12th, they lose to the Red Sox 6-4. The bad? Well, it's not even that bad. The Bats go 11 for 38. It's still a loss in a close game again. But the real ugly is Hess, as he goes to 2-3 on the year with this 3.1 innings pitched. Gave up 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 Ks, gave up 2 home runs. Ugly, 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 ugly. Bad performance by Hess against probably the best team in the AL East, if not the majors. Understandable, young guy, rookie. I'm cool with it. You got experience here. The good out of this game, Chris Davis did not play, manager's decision, and Joey Ricard hits a home run. Joey Ricard, I wouldn't mind seeing him stay in the lineup the rest of the year, because he is one of our guys we drafted and brought up through the farm system. Now, the last game here is on June 13th, where the Orioles lost to Boston 5-1. The good, Chris Davis didn't play here either, so that's 2 games in a row he hasn't played. So he's kept his 150 batting average at $23 million against the salary. The bad, Ramirez gets called up to pitch here. He goes 4.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 6 Ks, 3 earned runs. Not a bad start. And then Wright comes in. He goes 2.1 innings, gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs. But the real, truly ugly testament to this game and the whole overall show is the Orioles going 4 for 30 here with 9 Ks, with no run support. I can't hit on it enough. All right, the bats are struggling. The pitching is getting outdueled. The pen isn't producing, and that has led us to being the worst team in Major League Baseball at this point. Today they actually start a series against the Marlins. Maybe the NL. Maybe we should move to the NL because I feel like all we can beat is NL teams. Like I said, they win 2 games out of 14. That puts them at 2-12 over the last 14. 6 of those losses, of the 12 losses, were by 2 runs or less. So you tell me, guys, in the comments. Let me know what you think. I think this team's done. Stick a fork in them. And honestly, I think 40 wins for this team is a stretch. They are going to find it very difficult unless injuries prevail on other teams. But go ahead, give me a like, share my video, comment, talk to me. As you can tell, I am the sad Orioles fan up here in Northeast Ohio. Just a real rough time for an Orioles fan after maybe having 3 decent years after 2 decades of losing, and here we are. We're going right back down the tank. So let me know what you guys think. It's the best.